Now, industry leaders at companies like Microsoft and McKinsey say economists are confirming IT's role in driving productivity growth and add that despite all the dot-com buzz you have heard in the last 5 years, the internet has caused significant productivity gains in just one sector of the economy alone. That is securities trading. For more now on IT and productivity, we're going to head to our New York bureau and Ron Gerber. He is the founder and CEO of Angelbeat. Ron, thanks for being on the show today.
Good morning.
We know your company offers consulting services for cabling firms, system integrators, security companies, and telecom firms. So you have a direct link there. I know you've done some consulting with CTOs. You say IT spending in certain areas does, in fact, increase productivity. Tell us, where does it increase productivity and how?
Let me talk about 5 major areas, and we're going to focus exclusively on what we call the handheld or wireless world. First, when you look at initial CapEx spending, if you compare CTOs buying a laptop computer and a docking station versus buying a desktop computer that's very powerful and a PDA, the initial CapEx is much cheaper in that scenario. So that's one key area with regard to new investment. There are additional cost savings that relate very much to reduction in data entry costs or redundant data entry costs, as well as in paperwork elimination. That covers when you use, let's say, a Palm Pilot at the start of the day if you're a field salesperson, where you capture all of your orders from your customers even without a wireless connection. At the end of the day, you enter electronically that same information into your corporate database via what's called a cradle connection to your IT infrastructure. That's a big productivity gain because the information's right and it doesn't have to be re-entered. With regard to real-time wireless connections, there are examples right here in New York City where major restaurant chains will look at what they've sold the night before. Using Sprint PCS phones, they'll send a very short message to people who buy fish at 4 a.m. at the Fulton Fish Market. And that's using the existing infrastructure, and it has very big benefits in terms of inventory reduction and savings. And then if you...
I'm sorry, continue, Ron.
And then there's one other major advantage if you look at what Microsoft's doing with Nabisco, which is using pocket PCs to capture data. They sign off on electronically, and all that information is electronically sped through the entire supply chain, driving POs, inventory decisions, etc. So there's a real savings, driving productivity, driven by paperwork savings and data entry cost reduction.
You make some great points. The next question, though, IT spending. We know it is down. There have been reports, of course, of budgets being looked at again in the wake of the September 11th attacks. That, of course, means that CFOs will be looking at IT budgets. How is the drop in IT spending going to affect this productivity that you've spoken about? Is it going to affect the buying of handhelds or the upgrading of the systems or the software that these different pieces of technology use?
I think you have to differentiate between the types of hardware and services. If you're talking about PCs, there is a very strong resistance against buying new computers or even upgrading to the latest version of software. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Windows XP in the few weeks to come.
Right.
If you look at handheld computers, that's generally new equipment that provides ROIs that are generally measured in terms of weeks, if not months. So I think you have to differentiate mainframe software upgrades, application programs that work. I've got a spreadsheet, I've got an email package. What more do I need? I've got a 500 megahertz processor. I don't need a 1,000 gigahertz processor. But for a PDA that cuts down on paperwork reduction, enables me to make sure my information doesn't have to be re-entered twice, those kind of initiatives, while they may be slowed down slightly, will still go forward.
Ron, you bring up an interesting point when you talked about spending on new hardware, on boxes, basically, and that there is a little bit of hope out there, folks hoping that Windows XP, which launches a week from today, or a week from tomorrow, I should say, may help to boost that sector of the industry. Microsoft also just released Pocket PC 2002, which is what different handhelds from Compaq, from HP run on. This, of course, the alternate operating system to Palm. Will this help boost sales in that arena of hardware, in the small handheld devices which you're speaking of?
I think clearly there are some major upgrades to the latest Pocket PC, covering their ability to synchronize much more efficiently with your Microsoft Outlook inbox, and they've made some major upgrades based on a lot of user feedback. And at the same time, Palm is not standing still, and their new M505 device includes slots that are built in that can also cost-effectively drive productivity. So I think these latest operating system releases will drive the handheld market, whose prices are dropping more rapidly. And I think XP will also have an initial boom, though it may be delayed a little bit as once you get over the initial euphoria. I think the overall upgrades will continue, but as opposed to other scenarios like Windows 95, where there's a mad rush initially and then a taper down, here I think you're going to see a very slow and steady increase over the next few months.
So you've given us, you've looked in your crystal ball a little bit for us. We're going to ask you to take it back out and continue looking. Where do you see IT spending in the next year?
You know, again, it's very important that you
differentiate.
To differentiate the kind of sectors.
Sure.
If you look at spending on just bandwidth, there's so much excess bandwidth, and you're going to see the actual spending go down because all the major carriers are being driven towards variable pricing. So what they're spending on that will go down, and that's going to help spending on other kinds of technology. I think if software works, if hardware works, CTOs are not going to put money behind it, and they're going to be very discretionary. And I think you're not going to have people just saying, I have to put up a website because I don't want to be Amazoned.
Right.
And so the common theme is, if we look at the kind of solutions that save money, be it CRM, be it upgrades to my database that secure it, that's clearly going to be beneficial. I look at handhelds, wireless, network security, redundant backup is going to be a big win. And I think when you look at it in sum, the bandwidth spending is going to go down, prices are dropping on PC hardware, the absolute levels are going to go down, and you're going to probably see more of a pickup in handhelds, in wireless security, in data backup, etc.
Ron, we'd like to thank you for joining us on the show today and sharing your insight with us. Ron Gerber is CEO and founder of Angelbeat. Thanks again.
It's my pleasure.